Welcome to InfoHub Recap. We look back at the past week's main issues. In our headlines, $300.7 billion 2019 national budget presented in the National Assembly. 2019 budget caters to increases in salaries, public assistance, and income tax threshold. Sugar workers receive billions in final severance payment, and DPP launches prosecutors code. These stories and much more in this week's InfoHub Recap. We begin by telling you that on Monday, November 26, Minister of Finance Winston Jordan presented a 2019 budget in the National Assembly, a whopping $300.7 billion, which aims to build on the successes of 2018 and support the strengthening of key sectors.
Government has carefully tailored its 2019 fiscal package to ensure there is freedom of new opportunities for all Guyanese. In presenting the annual budget on Monday in the Parliament, Finance Minister Winston Jordan said the fiscal package is dedicated to the quality of life of all citizens. The $307 billion budget covers allocations to education $52.5 billion, health $35.9 billion, public security $35.6 billion, agriculture $17 billion, infrastructure $38.5 billion, youth $1.7 billion, and the justice sector $5.4 billion. The minister says the government will be expanding legal aid access in 2019.
Including legal assistance in the defense of minor, non-violent offenders, as well as increasing the use of restorative justice. With regard to the latter, a draft restorative justice bill has already been submitted to the Attorney General's chambers for review, which emphasizes alternative dispute resolution mechanisms which seek to repair the harm caused by criminal behavior by facilitating constructive mediation between stakeholders.
In the area of infrastructure, $2.9 billion will go towards maintaining and improving roads. The minister says well-functioning infrastructure that can support trade flows and transportation and protect the nation's economic assets and human capital from natural catastrophes was also very important.
In Budget 2019, we have allocated $38.5 billion to expand and maintain the infrastructure, principally in recognition of the emergence of petroleum, as well as the expansion and diversification of our non-petroleum assets. It is our roads, bridges, ports, stellings, airports, and aerodromes that will be assessed and expanded to catalyze the transformation that is no longer an illusion, but a reality brimming with hope. Of the amount budgeted, 71.9% will be spent on upgrading or adding to the capital stock, while the remainder will go towards maintenance and repairs. This sizable allocation will result in improved movement of people and goods, both nationally and internationally.
The theme of the 2019 national budget is transforming the economy, empowering people, building sustainable communities for good life. Reporting for InfoHub, Felicia Valenzuela.
Public servants have more to smile about. In addition to recently announced salary increases, Budget 2019 caters for basic minimum wage to increase to $64,200 and old age pension increased by 55%. Tiffany joins us again.
Last year, the government increased the minimum wage from $50,000 to $60,000.
We remain committed to continuously improve wages and salaries of all public sector employees while maintaining fiscal sustainability as we strive to deliver the good life to all.
The increase is in addition to the scaled increase announced earlier this month. The scaled salary increases recently announced range from 7% for persons making under $100,000 to 0.5% for persons making more than $1 million. The increase is effective from January of this year, and the back pay will be free of tax, Minister Jordan noted.
In effect, the retroactive increase means someone earning $60,000 per month will receive a lump sum of $50,400 in December. A not insignificant supplement for the holiday season.
Minister Jordan noted the remaining measures of a 3-year agreement inked with the Guyana Teachers Union this year will also be honored in 2019. The minister also announced an increase in the old age pension and public assistance.
I propose to increase the old age pension from $19,500 to $20,500. At the same time, At the same time, I propose to increase the public assistance. I propose to increase public assistance from $8,000 to $9,000. This brings to 55% and 53% respectively the increases granted to these two categories since the government came to office in 2015.
These increases will take effect from January 1, 2019. For InfoHub, Tiffany Rogers.
Still on Monday, Budget 2019 measures will result in $3.5 billion benefit to taxpayers. These include an increase in the income tax threshold and VAT credits for electricity and water. Details in this story by Alexis Rodney.
Finance Minister Winston Jordan, during his budget presentation earlier today, announced an increase to the income tax threshold of $780,000, representing a 30% increase since the coalition government assumed office in 2015. According to the Finance Minister, the increase will see some $805 million being returned to taxpayers.
In addition, Mr. Speaker, the wages and salaries of public servants will be increased in 2019 after discussions with the respective unions. It is our hope that a multi-year package can be concluded and that concluded that progressively improves workers' income to a livable wage over a defined period.
Minister Jordan said since entering office, the coalition government has made tax reform a top priority. He said the previous 4 budgets contained a wide range of tax measures that are designed to promote economic growth and build a sustainable revenue base for government.
The 2019 budget measures build on the success to date by targeting production, incomes, and exports. At the same time, they support the strengthening of some weak areas, including the closing of loopholes and the simplification of business processes.
Other measures in the 2019 budget include proposals in support of the government's green agenda, exemptions for immigrants, exemptions for public officials or officers, old-age pensions and persons living with disabilities, and measures in support of the private sector, among others. Reporting for InfoHub, Alexis Rodney.
On Tuesday, we continued our highlights of the 2019 budget. Stacey Carmichael reported that more than $30 billion have been budgeted for public infrastructure, with several major projects planned for 2019.
Finance Minister Winston Jordan yesterday, during the presentation of Budget 2019, announced that the government intends to spend $38.5 billion in 2019 to facilitate major infrastructural works.
It is our roads, bridges, ports, stellings, airports, and aerodromes that will be assessed and expanded to catalyze the transformation that is no longer an illusion, but a reality brimming with hope. Of the amount budgeted, 71.9% will be spent on upgrading or adding to the capital stock, while the remainder will go towards maintenance and repairs. This sizable allocation will result in improved movement of people and goods, both nationally and internationally, enhance resilience of coastal and riverine communities, and improve efficiency in services delivered to the citizenry of Guyana.
In addition, the Minister of Finance said the administration is in discussion with the Brazilian government on the development of the road from Ubura to Lethem, which will create ease of access to Brazil, improve local community welfare, and promote the economic advancement of Lethem and other such communities.
When completed, this superhighway from Linden to Lethem will open the vast Rupununi and intermediate savannas of Guyana, stimulate business activities, create ecotourism opportunities for hinterland communities contiguous to the corridor, facilitate easy road access for foresters and miners, and open a new and dynamic trade and commercial link with northern Brazil. Preliminary estimates conducted under our IDB Finance Market Access Study indicate that some 80% of the container traffic to and from northern Brazil will be deflected from the Manaus Amazon River Port route to Port Georgetown, with connections to North America, Europe, and wider field.
In addition, $134 million has been allocated to execute studies and plans for the rehabilitation of the 72 kilometers Linden-Soesdijk Highway, which has been neglected for more than 2 decades under the previous administration. For InfoHub, Stacey Carmichael.
Still on the budget, the agriculture, fishing and forestry sectors are expected to grow by 3.9% in 2019. Minister Jordan said this will take place as a result of the restructuring of the Ghana Sugar Corporation, Gaisuco, and the recapitalization of estates, among other measures. Felicia Valenzuela tells us more.
Of the $307 billion budget presented in the National Assembly on Monday, the Agriculture Ministry has been allocated $17 billion to execute its mandate for the fiscal year 2019. According to Finance Minister Winston Jordan, thus far investments to support agriculture diversification have borne some fruit, with some expansion of non-traditional crops. However, government must ramp up the diversification efforts to take advantage of available resources and solidify the transformation that is required for building economic resilience. He said priority areas include food safety and security, productivity, improved infrastructure, new value chains and value-added industries that boost investments in agro-processing and institutional capacity.
Mr. Speaker, earlier this year, we signed an agreement with the premier Malaysian Agricultural Research and Development Institute to support enhanced productivity in our rice industry. 3 new high-yielding, pest-resistant and disease-resistant varieties, one of which is an aromatic variety, will be tested for production in Guyana, with an expected increase in yield of 5% per annum over the next 3 years.
Minister Jordan says some 1,500 farmers and 10 rice millers will be equipped with knowledge and skills in breeding and certified seed production. The program will also create 3 new rice-based value-added end products, namely pre-gelatinized rice powder, rice pasta and rice chiffon cakes, a nutritious dense composite for the elderly.
The restructuring of Gaisuco and the recapitalization of estates will see production increasing progressively over the next few years. Specifically, in 2019, output is expected to increase by 15.6%. Rice will continue to grow steadily, increasing by 2.7% in 2019, as farmers continue to realize productivity gains due to better practices and improved varieties.
Reporting for InfoHub, Felicia Valenzuela.
Alexis Rodney reported that members of the disability community have commended the government for the special interest it has placed in their lives in the 2019 budget. They say the administration is much more sensitive to persons living with disabilities.
For the first time in Guyana, persons living with disabilities will be able to purchase their own vehicles, free of excise duty and value-added tax. They will also be granted a tax rebate on mobile phones with accessibility features, allowing visually and hearing impaired persons to afford a smartphone. Minister of Finance Winston Jordan made the announcement on Monday during the presentation of the 2019 national budget. The announcement quickly caught on, and several persons with disabilities said that they are very excited about the move.
In the scenario of the whole thing is that it would help persons with disability to be, to access more of the internet and all the rest of it. Transportation is a big question in Guyana for persons with disability.
Those persons who want to own their own cars, their own vans, their own trucks, can now make those vehicles designed to a way to accommodate them. Because when I was in the States a few months back, I realized that there's a lift that persons can attach to their vehicle, that's the wheelchair users, to fetch them up to the seat level, and then you have something now taking that wheelchair to the back of that truck or that van or that car, and you continue doing your stuff like an ordinary person. So I think with that aspect of the budget that talks about making it possible for us to purchase vehicles and not pay the big heavy-duty taxes is going to significantly benefit the disability community.
Disability rights advocate Ganesh Singh said persons with disabilities already face challenges utilizing the services of public transportation. He said whoever made the recommendation to the government on behalf of the community must be commended.
Many persons, especially wheelchair users, they have a horrid time when they're trying to move from point A to point B, because many taxis do not want to take their wheelchairs. Then minibuses, which most of us are dependent on to be transported, they don't want to fetch wheelchairs. So you have persons using wheelchair that might be living in Mahika or very far-flung areas, and they can't come to school in Georgetown, or they can't come to a workshop, or they can't go to a place of employment. Why? Because they cannot be transported that easily. So, you know, with the removal of the excise tax, I don't know how, but probably they can find the sum of money to procure a vehicle that they can transport themselves.
Minister Jordan said, however, that the commission representing persons with disabilities must certify that those persons, the vehicle and the handset, are eligible for the concessions. He said the two initiatives solidify government's commitment to equity and inclusion for all citizens through the use of information and communication technology. Reporting for InfoHub, Alexis Rodney.
Drivers say the move to amend the Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act to increase the duration of a driver's license from 3 years to 5 years is a good one by the coalition government. Isaiah Braffett has that report.
I think this is very good. This is very good. Increase it from 3 to 5 is very good. Not every 3 years you got to run now. Every 5 years you could go and get your license, right? I really like that. It's a very good thing the government doing.
That was Leroy Johnson, a bus driver who travels with 42 Georgetown to Mary daily, increasing the duration for renewal of a driver's license from 3 years to 5 years was one of the measures announced by Minister of Finance Winston Jordan when he presented the 2019 national budget. Like Johnson, other drivers approve of the move.
I feel renewing your license every 5 years is a good thing. Good thing to the Guyanese society, the drivers in particular. You don't have to run every 3 years. 5 years is a good time span for you to renew your license. I fully agree with it.
Well, that's very good. At least it's a short time that you can go for fatigue yourself, and as long as the same fee is good for the drivers as well. That it be more economical, it won't be no strain on anyone.
On Wednesday, Anara Khan reported that Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu acknowledged Japan's continuous support towards Guyana's development.
We'd like to thank you for the work you have done to promote the friendly and very strong Guyana-Japan relationship. And we are confident that these relationships will continue over the years, and that we will strengthen our bilateral cooperation. We'll be able to attract more assistance from Japan, as Your Excellency has pointed out.
The Prime Minister was at the time addressing Japanese Ambassador Mitsuhiko Okada, who, along with his wife, Mrs. Marie Okada, paid a courtesy call to the Prime Minister at his office Wednesday morning. Ambassador Okada has served Guyana for the last 3 years and has overseen the implementation of several projects. During their discussions, the ambassador provided the Prime Minister with an update of the current projects being funded across the country, which amounted to over $4.4 billion or US $22 million. Among these ventures designed to enhance capacity building of citizens is the project to strengthen the disaster management capacity of women in Guyana and Dominica. This project is a collaboration with the UNDP, and the first workshop held on November 5th this year saw residents from 14 communities in the North Rupununi district attending. The exercise was aimed at enabling farmers to make informed decisions. Ambassador Okada's tenure is expected to come to an end soon. For InfoHub, Anara Khan.
Opposition Member of Parliament and former Minister of Housing Irfan Ali on Wednesday morning appeared before Chief Magistrate Anne McLennan at the Georgetown Magistrates Court. Ali is facing 19 counts of fraud in relation to the sale of land to PPPC officials while he was Housing Minister under the previous administration. The charges contend that between 2010 and 2015, Ali conspired with others to defraud the government when he presented the value of 19 plots of land at Sparendam, East Coast, Demerara without obtaining a valuation. Following his arrest, Ali was taken to the Special Organized Crime Unit, SOCU, for questioning. He was then taken to the Criminal Investigation Department, CID, to answer the charges. SOCU's prosecutor, Patrice Henry, asked that Ali be placed on considerable bail in order to guarantee his appearance in court. However, his lawyers objected on the grounds that the accused has been cooperating with SOCU since the commencement of its investigation. Ali was placed on self-bail and the case adjourned to January 7, 2019. Moving on to Thursday, we reported that residents in the Deep South will no longer be affected by droughts following the drilling and handover of 8 wells in 8 communities in the Upper Takatu, Upper Essequibo region.
The completed wells were officially handed over to the communities during a ceremony in Ishalton on Wednesday. Minister of Foreign Affairs Carl Greenidge noted that the project is a continuation of support to the area, which has been susceptible to droughts over the years.
This is a continuous process. That is what I want to say. Don't assume that because you have some wells, everything is going to be fixed. First of all, you have to ensure that they continue to work and work well, that you take care of them. And also, we will have to continue to be doing other things to ensure that what we call now the technologies to reduce the effects of drought in Region 9 is an initiative that will bear fruit.
The project is a joint venture between the Guyana Defense Force and the 6th Construction Battalion of the Brazilian Armed Forces with support from other government agencies. Commanding Officer of the 6th Beck Brazilian Army, Lieutenant Colonel Vandir Pereira Soares, provided an overview of the project.
The first part of it is 10 meters of sediment and around 7 meters of rock, we call crystalline.
Meanwhile, Minister of State Joseph Harmon noted that while the project initially faced challenges, it was successfully completed on time due to interagency cooperation.
We had fantastic cooperation from several ministries of the government. We had meetings of this interagency group, several meetings at the Ministry of the Presidency in the Cabinet Room, some meetings at the Civil Defense Commission, and some meetings at Lethem and here in Ishalton. These meetings all prove that irrespective of where we come from and where we work, that we can work together for the benefit and the good of the people of our country.
The wells are located in Ishalton, Chukwukedana, Karadarnau, Achuim, Arwarnau, Marwarnau, Shiel, and Baishaidram. Renetta LaFleur for InfoHub.
On Friday, the final severance packages were paid out to redundant sugar workers. Anara Khan was on the ground at the Wills and Enmore estates. She tells us that the sugar workers who collected their final severance payments are looking forward to improving their lives.
Sugar workers were gathered outside the Wills Estate Administrative Building awaiting the payout of their severance. Rohan Sugrim has been working in the sugar industry and said he will be investing his payout.
Actually, it's a Christmas holiday coming along, so you have to put aside some for the holiday and probably when the new year starts, do some investment. Out there is not easy, you know, and we're working with a construction site. Yes. It's a bit challenging, but you have to make everything okay. Yeah.
Joseph Prasad also welcomed the receipt of his final payment. Prasad said he is currently unemployed and practicing subsistence farming.
We can put it at the bank. Well, by the half of next year, I get to go. I mean, I can go abroad.
Ramphal has been working with Guy Suko for 23 years and would like to get into farming despite finding work in general construction.
We came from agricultural background and we tell them, listen, we can go back to farming providing we get the land. Financing, we asked them the government should set up an agriculture bank and seek market opportunities.
InfoHub also visited the Enmore Community Development Ground, where we spoke to several workers who welcomed the severance payments.
Well, I feel very good because I was waiting a very long time and now everything happened and coming the right time because it's a Christmas holiday. You have a lot of fine things to do.
Well, I feel happy about it, right? Because when they pay the force off, a lot of people comment about it. But I say every disappointment is before a good, right? We had half, and now the other half come in good.
This is what I've called the end of the chapter, because we have been waiting for several months now. And I'm glad that the government have come through in terms of the final payments for all of the workers that attached to East Zamara Estate.
For InfoHub, Anara Khan.
President David Granger returns to Cuba for further medical checkups in the new week. Public Infrastructure Minister presents report on Fly Jamaica accident to Cabinet. These and more in the post-Cabinet Roundup.
Minister of State Joseph Harmon on Friday during a post-cabinet press conference said President David Granger is expected to return to Cuba on Tuesday of the new week for further medical checkups. The president recently returned from that country on November 20 after undergoing a series of tests and medical evaluations following the diagnosis of non-Hodgkin lymphoma.
He is working on a reduced workload, but in fact is in command, in charge of the business of the state. The president is having meetings, he is giving directions and so on and so forth, but he is he's much better than when he left for Cuba. The treatment regime will require him going to Cuba on a number of occasions. The president, I believe, has asked that at least so that I convey to you and to all Guyanese who have actually wished him well, who have sent messages of comfort himself and his family, to express his thanks for all of those outpouring of concern for his health. In the government, we want to say that we continue to work assiduously to ensure that the visions of the president are kept.
Government has agreed to sell its 6.7% interest in the Guyana Stock Feeds Limited to Pegasus Hotel owner Robert Badal. According to Minister Harmon, the offer entails the purchase of government's holdings of 5,437 ordinary shares at $25 per share.
The offer to purchase the shares by Mr. Badal, the majority shareholder in Guyana Stock Feed Inc., was the only one received in response to two separate requests or proposals, the last being published in the 4 daily newspapers over the period October 29th to December 7th, 2017. Cabinet approved the sale of the shares as proposed and authorized NISIL to complete the sale transaction.
2 external loan agreements have been signed between Guyana and the Caribbean Development Bank, CDB, the first to the tune of $1,265,000 for the water sector enhancement project. Minister Harmon said studies will be conducted to determine if the Hope Canal could be used as a source of potable water. The second loan, worth $4,367,000, will go towards the transport sector enhancement project,
which would include the construction of a new bridge at Wisma, region number 10, a new stelling at Parica, region number 3, and upgrading the aerodrome at Lethem, region number 9. Cabinet approved the loan agreements and directed that they be laid in the National Assembly.
The vision of the Green State Development Strategy, GSDS, the brainchild of President Granger, was presented to the Cabinet. The GSDS, Minister Harmon said, is a model of development over a 20-year period, which provides a roadmap of how the country can prudently manage its natural resources wealth. It also outlines expected benefits to sustainable development in Guyana in the context of the Green State. Minister of Public Infrastructure David Patterson has presented to the Cabinet a report on the November 9, 2018 crash landing of the Fly Jamaica aircraft. Government also described the actions of the firemen who stole personal items from the aircraft as reprehensible. The State Minister said this has tarnished the image of the country. Appointments have been approved for members of the National Commission for the Elderly and the Trade Recognition and Certification Boards, among others.
Cabinet has agreed to the appointment of Mr. William Boston as Director of Juvenile Justice, Mr. Andre Messiah Gonzalez, Deputy Director of Policy, and Mrs. Tiffany Daniels, Deputy Director of Administration. These appointments will serve to support the implementation of the provisions of the Juvenile Justice Bill that was passed in the National Assembly in April of 2018. This is now an act. Those provisions include the decriminalization of a number of offenses.
More news from the post-cabinet press conference can be viewed on our website and social media. For InfoHub, Stacey Carmichael.
We end this week recap with the news that the capital city is now under new youthful leadership as Pandit Yubraj Narayan was elected the new mayor of Georgetown, while Alfred Mentor was elected deputy mayor. Isaiah Braffett has the details.
Narayan and Mentor were elected this morning following a swearing-in of the 30 elected councillors that make up the Georgetown Mayor and City Council. The mayor-elect, who also represents Constituency 1, said the councillors must put aside divisions and work for the betterment of Georgetown residents and the transparent management of the affairs of the city.
We must speak to each other and reach across the islands of politics, race, religion, creed, and engage our thoughts and arrive at a consensus. In Georgetown, the environment must be protected. The resident must be given services that are uncompromisingly excellent. Businesses must thrive and the young be provided with opportunities for their talents.
Minister of Social Protection Amna Ali described the swearing-in process as a return of democracy and involvement of young people. She called on all councillors to put aside their political differences and work together for the development of Georgetown.
And I want to say at this stage, it is not APNU, AFC, and PPP. It is Georgetown, Guyana. I want to call on councillors and all Guyana to come together, to work together, to live in unity, and let our main theme be development.
The council will begin duties from January 1, 2019. The election of the new council, mayor and deputy mayor follows the recently hosted local government elections. Isaiah Braffett for InfoHub.
You have been watching InfoHub Recap, where we share the past week's top stories. Goodbye.